In a very unexpected turn of events, it appears we will soon have another new country, maybe. And unlike the last mentioned one with Chinland and Burma, this won't be an ambiguous situation arising from a civil war either. On the 21st of September of 2024, news broke that the nation of Albania was setting in motion the process to establish a new tiny country within its own borders for a Sufi Islamic religious group known as the Bektashi Order. The country would be so tiny that it'd be surrounded by the Albanian capital city of Tirana. And if that kind of setup sounds a little familiar, like the Vatican City, then, well, you basically have the right idea. But who are the Bektashi Order? How would the state run? Is there a timetable? Most importantly, do we have a map of it yet? The Bektashi Order are a Sufi Islamic religious group. Sufism is a spiritual practice within Islam that is more mystic in nature, with focuses on ideas of purity and spiritual oneness with Allah. It is not inherently its own sect, so there are both Sunni and Shia-based Sufis. Usually Sufis will form orders called tariqas, and that's where you'd kind of get the organization part. Basically, imagine something kind of like the Knights Templar, but without the military aspect and just the spiritualism. However, Sufism throughout history has experienced persecution by more fundamentalist Islamic groups due to some practices deemed as heretical, like their veneration of saint figures. This, along with other perceived superstitious practices, has made their worship sites the target of multiple terrorist groups even into the modern day. The Bektashi Order in particular arose in Anatolia during the 13th century based around the teachings of Haji Bektash Veli. As it so happens, the Ottoman Empire also arose from Anatolia around that time, so naturally the Bektashi Order was able to spread quickly and establish itself throughout Ottoman-controlled areas in Anatolia and in the Balkans. However, in 1826, the Bektashi Order was declared illegal by the Ottoman Sultan Muhammad II. While they regained some freedoms later on, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire led to the first Turkish president Ataturk to ban them again in 1925. This time they decided to relocate and they moved to Albania. During the empire, Albania had a large amount of Bektashi members, and in 1925 Albania was the only other Muslim-majority country in Europe, so it made a lot of sense. During Albania's communist years in the Cold War, they once again were declared illegal. But their connection to Albanian culture for so long has kept them active, and in post-communist Albania, they currently have around 5% of Albania's population belonging to their order. The current Prime Minister of Albania, named Edi Rama, and the head of the Bektashi Order, named Baba Mondi, have made talks about establishing a tiny sovereign nation for the Bektashi Order within the capital of Tirana. In an interview, Mondi states that he wants this place to not only preserve the religious freedom for the Bektashi Order, but to also serve as a counter to extremist Islam and a promoter of interfaith dialogue and tolerance. Albania's parliament would need to draft legislation for this and then pass it. So far, they're still in the planning process. Should this pass, the new state would have no army and be even smaller than the Vatican City. The exact borders have not yet been determined. Both numbers I've seen floating around have ranged from as small as 0.1 square kilometers to as large as 0.27 square kilometers, which either way would only amount up to half the Vatican size. User Allegram on Reddit posted a hypothetical map of such a state if it were based around the walled compound owned by the Bektashi Order. But for all we know, it could have more land and maybe even a few exclaves elsewhere depending on how this goes down. Other issues such as how the state would run and how citizenship would work are also still in the planning phase. At the very least, for simplistic future maps of Europe, there'd be a circle in Albania like they do with other sovereign microstates like San Marino or Monaco. Prime Minister Rama seems dedicated to this idea, and it'll be interesting to see future developments on this. Will the Bektashi Order beat Bougainville to the race for the next independent country? Honestly, it's these changes in the map I find the most exciting, because I can enjoy a change in the map that doesn't involve lots of death and destruction. Isn't that nice? Of course, whenever there is a major update to the progress of this possible new country's independence, you can always expect a new change in the map episode. I'm Emperor Tiger Star, and I'll see you guys next time.